So in the midst of the Democrat National Convention, there is some breaking news, and this could change considerably the race for President Trump. Yesterday, in a discussion on a podcast, it was Robert Kennedy Jr., so RFK Jr.'s running mate, Nicole Shanahan, who has been a main funding source for the campaign. She was formerly married to one of the founders of Google, but was also in her own mind a tech person and kind of understands the tech world. So she's the VP candidate. And she was having this discussion, and in the discussion said, you know what, we're very much thinking about going to the Trump campaign and actually endorsing as, I guess, a party or whoever they are, I guess RFK and her, and try to take their supporters with them.
Two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
The big point there is they have to really be able to explain it to their base to make it something that's worthwhile for President Trump, because if they can swing 4 or 5%, all the polls you're seeing right now, that if they're right, Donald Trump just takes a 5% lead now.
That's a huge number to swing if you could actually do it. If they actually could get all of RFK's base, because this is probably one of the most successfully run third-party candidacy in our lifetime.
Yep.
So 4 or 5% gets swung in either way. You know, that could be a pretty big landslide change.
The guy that you're supporting, RFK, you talk to him regularly. The rumors is he's open to maybe joining forces with Trump. Trump said he'd be looking to add him to a cabinet. What do you hear?
I would, well, I mean, I support RFK, and I think that he will. Mm-hmm. I mean, what happened is it's been unfair. We talk about the democracy. The Democrats have crushed democracy. They've tried to eliminate any chance for a third party. He will. I believe, though, that soon he will back Trump.
There it is, right there. I mean, this is someone very
close to it.
Close, because like you said, like he's like the hype guy on the.
He was one of the headliners. Him and Russell Brand headlined the event. I mean, he probably had the most stage time, and they thanked him continually as like the ringleader sort of to bring it together. So you know he is actually hearing from inside sources. They're not just saying this. They're not having Shanahan out there saying this casually. It's almost as if it's a done deal. And yeah, President Trump addressed it. I think we should hear that.
So President Trump yesterday, he was, of course, they do the counter campaigning as much as they can during these conventions. He was in Michigan. He had finished an event, and this news had come out. So he got asked the question. Take a listen.
I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen. He's a very different kind of a guy, very smart guy. And, yeah, I would be honored by that endorsement.
What he was responding to is, would you have him as part of your cabinet?
Yeah, would you put him in your administration? And a question I had for people is, you know, where do you think he fits in the Trump administration where you'd be comfortable that you're still getting the conservative, you know, that you elected with Donald Trump and the policies you elected, by joining forces with someone who is much more on the libertarian side of the party? It might have some views that you disagree with. You might be with 75%, let's say, but 25% very much disagree with.
85% of the abortions that take place in this country are among black women. And the institutions themselves, the Planned Parenthood facilities, are most often sited in black neighborhoods. And for a lot of these young black mothers, the difficult choice to have an abortion is driven by economic indicators, by economic strictures. Today, child care costs on average about 37% of a mother's income. And we should not be in a situation in this country where any mother is aborting a child because they believe they can't afford that baby. And we ought to be putting the same amount of resources into making sure nobody has to make that choice as we're putting into Planned Parenthood.
One of the big criticisms of the Biden-Harris administration is all of the funding to Ukraine, all of this money that's going elsewhere. He's taking something and saying, legitimately, how about we take these funds and use it at home to make sure that people don't have to make a decision like that based off of economics? Yes, it's a more moderate position than traditionally where conservatives come from, but I think it's one that's very America first. It is very much something that a Trump voter would resonate with because of the way he's positioning it.
One, it shows in their polling that they are doing better amongst likely Trump voters, or people who that would be the second choice would be Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, than they are amongst the Harris voters right now. And now there was a shift there, so maybe this has even happened in the last couple of weeks since Joe Biden has been taken off the top of the ticket. Because I think then it was probably even though Joe Biden wasn't doing so great, he wasn't as divisive. And I'm not sure I thought it was a little bit more probably even. But they're also having to weigh that versus becoming a registered third party in the future, so it's not so hard to get on the ballots. And what I think we need to kind of break down here real quickly is what this could potentially mean for Donald Trump in the midst of the DNC getting an endorsement from obviously someone who's done very popular among another set of voters who feel like they don't have a home, Logan.
Yeah, we went to one of his events as press just to see it, and it was an interesting group of people. I would say they definitely leaned more conservative in general. These are people that had a lot of issues with the current administration. So they were either going to be a Democrat voter who could not vote for Biden, or a Republican voter who wasn't thrilled with some of Trump's policies. Not most of them, but just a few of them.
If they could explain to their voters, Will, and get their voters who are the kind of voters that Donald Trump was so successful with in 2016. It's why he won in 2016. It is people who typically don't vote. It's not people who are independents who decide who to vote for and vote differently each election. It's literally people who usually don't vote at all.
And I think it's really interesting, and it gives us a really clear picture of the state of the Democrat Party today, is that you had earlier this year Tulsi Gabbard leaving the Democrat Party, writing a book about why, for the love of country, you leave the Democrat Party. Exactly. So someone who comes from a long history of elected Democrats and Democrats in the state of Hawaii. You have RFK Jr., who is royalty within the Democrat Party, being a Kennedy, a part of Camelot, so to speak. And normally, when you see one of these third-party tries by a former Democrat, what do you normally see happen? They do it, they realize it's not going to go anywhere, and then they end up endorsing the Democrat. Right. It's a very unique, almost unprecedented thing to see someone leave a high level of name recognition within a party, run for a third-party slot as an independent, and then say, look, we don't want the Democrat to win. That's what Shanahan was saying. She was very clear. Their two options are, do we stay in and risk, she used the term risk, a Harris presidency, or do we drop out and endorse Donald Trump? Right. I think that is a very unique moment in our history, and it should speak volumes about the state of the Democrat Party today when you're having things like this happen.